Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, welcome back to another video, and welcome back to another part of me ranking every episode of Witch. So number 25 on my list is X is for Xanadu. This is another one of these episodes that I have a real affinity for. It's just an episode that I've always really liked. I don't know how popular it is like with the general fandom, but I've always had a real thing for it. I love the fact that, well, there's so many things that I love. I love the battle scene at the end. I think that's one of my favourite like battles in the entire series. I think it looks really good. You know, there's like a lot going on. You can feel the stakes are high in that scene, you know, and the roof starts to collapse and Cornelia's trying to hold it up and everyone's having to run through the portal, and then someone throws a javelin at Blanc and Caleb has to jump in front of it, and like Cornelia gets attacked by Sniffer and then Caleb tries to go and get her, but then he gets hit in the face because Drake gets thrown into him. Like, it's just such a well choreographed fight scene. I love it. There's like just so much happening. And then Cornelia like uses like earth to like make a kind of barricade out of blocks. There's so much happening and it's such a good fight scene, so I love that. I love Elion getting to like show off her painting ability, because I feel like even though we know she's artsy, up until this point we'd never really got a look in at like her painting ability, and we're like a few episodes from the end of the show, but we're finally getting to see it. So we get to see her kind of more arty side of her that we know she has but we don't see all the time in the show, so that's really nice. I really like the bit where the girls are all like describing paradise. So like, according to Irma, like, paradise is just a field full of bunnies. Cornelia says that paradise is an infinite walk-in closet. Tirani tries to use Kubla Khan by Samuel Taylor Coleridge as an example of paradise, and then all that happens is when she starts talking about women wailing for her demon lover, she just pictures Nerissa. I love Kubla Khan. I think it's a great poem. I'd never heard it before Witch, and then I love poetry, I do. Particularly, like, I love, like, Tennyson, Keats, that kind of, like, but I love so many poets. I love Norman McCaig. Tennyson's my favourite, because Tennyson did a lot of, like, Arthurian poetry. But I love, like, older, like, that style of poetry. So, like, Kubla Khan just was, like, perfect for me, you know, and Xanadu de Kubla Khan, a stately pleasure dome decree through Alpha of sacred river ran through caverns measureless to man down to a sunless sea.
In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alph, the sacred river, ran through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea.
I was just like, I love this. This is great. So I love getting to hear her read out that poem, and the visuals are really nice as well, like the image that Elion sees in her head when Tirani's reading Kubla Khan, so I think that makes it really stand out to me as well. I love the whole idea of like paradise is a state of mind, the hope in every sunrise. I just love it. I just think everything about that episode is just so beautiful. I don't know, I have a real thing for that episode. I just think it's really nice. We get to see Matt being like more involved now that he's got like Shagon powers. He's like out fighting the good fight in Meridian, which I think is really cool, because he's like now like a proper warrior member of the gang, which is awesome. There's so much that I love about that episode. I think it's just a really solid episode. It's got some really good Earth stuff going on with the girls. It's got some really good Meridian fight stuff going on, really high stakes. Just a super good episode, just a solid episode. And I think this is the thing, is we're coming into, like, I'm looking at my list now, like my top 25 here. I honestly, like, this is probably my A tier, you know what I mean? Like, for the next, you know, good chunk of episodes, this is like my A tier episodes, because all I'm gonna say about all of these is it's a properly solid episode, and I love it, because these are all episodes that I genuinely love, that I think are just fantastic episodes, and X is for Xanadu is definitely one of them. I just think it's a great episode. Number 24 is M is for Mercy. M is for Mercy is really dark. It's a really dark episode, and I like that. I like the episodes that kind of go in hard, and I think Shagon as a character is very dark, very disturbing, very creepy. I think he is a great villain. Like, Shagon is a great character, but he is very unsettling because of the way he plays on your emotions, the fact that he gets into your head and really messes with you. And that's the whole point of M is for Mercy, is that he's getting into the girls' heads and really messing with them, really, you know, just causing them real trauma here. He's attacking their families, he's torturing them, he's using their emotions against them. You know, he's especially with Will, because Will doesn't know that Shagon was made out of Matt's body and that Matt's consciousness is inside of Shagon but can't come out. So as far as she is concerned, it's entirely possible that Shagon has captured Matt and has him locked up somewhere, that he's torturing him. He might have killed Matt, she doesn't know, and he uses that against her, and it's really upsetting to watch, just the way that he like really messes with her head and makes her completely like spiral, because, you know, he's a shitty guy. He is a shitty guy. He's like attacking their family, you know, he like attacks Lily and he attacks Peter. He's really messing with their heads, and I think that's so creepy to watch. And the horrible bit where, like, you know, Will has gone to the pier with her mother and Shagon like destroys the pier, and Susan almost falls off the edge of the pier.
Where are you?
To her death, and it's like, this is really dark. You know, in my opinion, Susan hanging off the edge of the pier is a darker thing than the girls getting beat up by a train, but whatever, that's what the censors thought was the right thing to do, whatever. So I think I just really enjoy this episode because it really goes in hard on how scary Shagon is, and really puts an emphasis on how disturbing his character is. And it's nice to see them like do something quite dark like that, because I think Witch had the potential, you know, obviously with its demographic they were limited, but I think Witch had the potential to be really dark if they wanted it to. And this was kind of like as far as they could push it, and I think they did the best that they could within the parameters of their demographic and the fact that they're working for Disney. I mean, obviously this one, they pushed it so far that it got censored, so they went as far as they could, and I appreciate that. The other great thing about M is for Mercy is it's the episode where Nerissa resurrects Cassidy, and I love all those scenes with Cassidy and Nerissa, because this is like the closest we get to any actual exploration of their relationship while they were alive, while Cassidy was alive and while they were younger. And it's really nice to get to see Cassidy's character, because she's dead before the series begins, we don't get a lot of time to get to know Cassidy. In the comics, we don't get a lot of time to know Cassidy at all. So it's really nice to get to see more of her character and what she was like. You know, the fact that she wanted to become a pediatrician, you know, this carefree spirit that she had, the really strong bond she had with her mother. It's really nice to get to experience that and see that even though she's dead, that she doesn't hold a grudge against Nerissa for the fact that Nerissa killed her. And Cassidy's very much aware that Nerissa killed her, and she's not angry about it. You know, she's like, says that she's like got over it, that the past is the past, and she's happy to go on a little day trip with Nerissa. And it's just, I don't know, I think that's really cool. I think Cassidy's such a cool character, and she's super popular with the fandom despite the lack of screen time she actually gets as her and not as like a zombie thrall. And I think that really speaks volumes for like how much of an impact she had just in the short time that we got to know her as Cassidy, that she's become so popular because she's just such a great character even when you don't get to spend a lot of time with her. Number 23 is an episode this is another one that used to be right at the top of my list. It was one of my like top 3 for a long time that has now shuffled its way down the list because I've sort of changed my opinion on it, but still love it, but it's not one of my top favourites anymore. It's Eyes for Illusion. Eyes for Illusion was one of my favourites because I just thought it was so fun. Like, everyone's going to the beach and they're building sandcastles and they're going swimming, and then they go to the haunted house and they're arguing over the one bathroom, and it's like, I think it's super fun. But I think when you look at my list, there's a lot of like darker episodes that I've shifted up the list, and I think because I've obviously, as I've grown up, moved towards the kind of more serious episodes, so that episodes like Eyes for Illusion that are slightly less serious have got shuffled down. I still really love it. Again, it's that thing that I love about characters like Nerissa and Shagon, where this way that they get into the girls' heads, and I think that's one of the things that makes them like better villains than Phobos and Cedric, because Phobos and Cedric were very much just like kind of aggressive. They were just like, I'm going to fight you. Whereas they didn't really get that the way to mess with these girls is to get into their heads, get into their psyche. And Nerissa's so good at that. You know, she messes with their dreams. She has Matt play on their emotions. And in this episode, she uses glamouring to turn the girls against each other. Because the way to get to the heart of the Guardians and to destroy them is from the inside. You need to make them vulnerable. Not by just brute force sending monsters after them, but by attacking their psyche, especially because they are teenage girls, and teenage girls have so much already going on in their heads that you can really mess with them that way. They've got so much happening in their lives, and I think that's what makes Nerissa such a great villain, and she really does it well in this episode, because I also think it's super cool because you can see how well Nerissa has learned these girls. Like, even though she's not, well, she probably has spent more time with them as like Trill and the Mage than we entirely know, but she's really got a good sense of who these girls are. She uses the fact that Helen doesn't have a boyfriend against her. She uses Cornelia and Caleb's breakup against her. She uses Irma's relationship with her brother against her. She really does know what makes these girls tick, and that's quite terrifying because she clearly knows these girls far better than they realise, especially because at this point they still don't even know who Nerissa is or what she wants, but she knows them very well and she knows how to mess with them, and there's something really disturbing about that. It's like, how does she know this much about these girls? But she does. And on top of that, I love the fact that it's like this fun beach episode, you know, they are all having fun at the beach and Will's yelling at the toaster, and then they go to a haunted house and we get to see, you know, a bit more of Irma's relationship with Chris and with her family, because the Lair family are just the best. I love Tom and Anna, they're great. I don't know, it's just a fun episode, and it's got some nice Meridian stuff as well. I really like the fact that like the Meridian plot in that episode has a real season 1 feel, because it's like Caleb and Blanc are off in Meridian doing their own mission, and they're like, you know, getting up to their old tricks like they used to do in season 1. I always loved the Caleb and Blanc subplots in season 1, where they would be doing something in Meridian and the girls would be doing something else on Earth. So I think that's part of why I really like that episode as well, is because it does have that kind of season 1 feel to it with the Meridian storyline. And of course there's the bit at the end where Cornelia just buries Caleb in the sand, and it's just great. It's just great, you know, we love it. We love to see it. Hold your breath, guys. Murders him. I always wonder if, like, because the episode stops like right after that scene, if like a few minutes later Cornelia came back out like, oh shit, I completely forgot I just suffocated my boyfriend in the sand, I should probably go and dig him back up. This is a great episode. Number 22. This is an interesting one because again, this used to be one of my favourites, and it is, but it isn't, because, well, it is and it isn't. It is and it isn't is the only way to describe it. It's F is for Facades. F is for Facades obviously used to be one of my favourite episodes because it is the Cornelia and Caleb relationship special, essentially. It's Cornelia and Caleb, a love meant to be, if you want to put it that way, because this is the episode that entirely, like almost from start to finish, entirely just focuses on their relationship. Which makes it a very controversial episode, because if you don't care about Cornelia and Caleb's relationship, this episode will drive you to distraction, 100%. This will be like at the bottom of your tier list. If you don't like their relationship, this episode will just annoy you. But if you're like me and Cornelia and Caleb are your entire life, then obviously this episode is going to be one of your preferred ones. I love it because I think, as much as I think there's little things I wish I could change, and I think it's more just that I wish the episode was longer. I think, like, I would love to see, I hate that we don't see what happens between Cornelia saying, like, I decided to break up with him, I swear, to just cut into her and Caleb being back together. There is a conversation in there, and I know it. Like, there has to be. There's no way that Caleb just accepted that and moved on. Like, they would have a conversation about that. And it clearly happened off screen, and I wish it didn't. I wish we got to see more of it. And I realise that they've got, like, 22 minutes to tell a story, but I'm like, you know how, like, Cornelia and Caleb and Love Not Meant to Be was a, like, 2-part comic special? Give me F is for Facades 2-episode special. No one wants that apart from me and the rest of the CXC shippers, but the non-Cornelia and Caleb fans would be like, I'd rather die than watch a 2-part special of F is for Facades, but I would. But I really like it. I think it does wonders for the relationship, and I think, like I said in my last episode, I would love to do a video just breaking down Cornelia and Caleb's relationship, particularly their breakup arc, and I think F is for Facades is a really great conclusion to that arc, because I think it really does wonders for both their characters. It makes Cornelia vulnerable, and it shows her bringing her guard down for, like, one of the only times in the entire series, and, you know, she's actually allowing herself to put her emotions on her sleeve and to admit that she was wrong and to realise that she messed up. And it's so rare for her to do that it's so nice to see. And for Caleb as well, I mentioned before, Caleb is such a prideful person, and for him as well to swallow his pride and accept that if he wants Cornelia back, he needs to do something to prove that, you know, that she should take him back, that he can't just keep saying to her, you know, I don't know why you're mad at me, stop being mad at me, like, you know, I still care about you, stop being mad at me. Like, that's not going to work, because Cornelia is also very proud. Like, the two of them are very similar. They're both very stubborn, very proud, very, like, defensive people. And when you have two personalities like that, you're going to have to break down those barriers if you ever want that relationship to fix. And that's really what this episode is all about. It's about the two of them realising that if they want this relationship to work, they need to learn to bring those barriers down, to stop being so proud, to stop being so stubborn, and to listen to each other, and to communicate, and to be more open and more vulnerable with each other. And they do, and that's what I really love about this episode, is it does give both of them that chance to really analyse who they are, and to realise that they need to change, that they need to adapt if they want to be together. And they do, and they become better versions of themselves as a result, and that's why their relationship is so incredibly beautiful, and why I will ship it in the afterlife. One day I will be sitting on a ghost cloud somewhere still writing Cornelia and Caleb fanfiction. That is my legacy. There will be a picture of Cornelia and Caleb etched into my gravestone one day, probably. God, I hope not. That would be really embarrassing. Yeah, I also think, like, it's got some really, like, there's some really lovely bits in there. Like, Cornelia pointing out to Caleb that he doesn't actually know that much about her.
Cornelia, stop it. You can't still be mad at me. Just because I put my duty to my queen first does not mean—
What's Elion's favorite non-fighting evil activity?
Drawing. Why?
What's mine?
Spelunking?
That's another thing I wish they'd elaborated on, because I feel like they need to follow that up. Like, the fact that she points out that he knows Elion better than he knows her. That's a really damning thing. Like, that's bad. Like, that's bad. That's bad. He's known Cornelia very, like, a good, what, 6-8 months or something at this point. He should know her better, and he doesn't, and that is bad. And they never follow up on that. Again, it's one of those things that I'm sure they must have followed up on off screen. Like, they must have had a conversation about the fact that he didn't know her favourite thing was ice skating. And I do wonder if it's because she never told him, because we don't see her ice skating at all in season 1, so I want to know what he was going to say. Like, he says, he's like, just because what is the line? Just because I put my duty to my queen first does not mean, and then she cuts him off. That's another thing, I think, the fact that Caleb just doesn't really get, that as much as his world is important, the fact that he keeps telling Cornelia that, like, look, I'm just putting my job first, it's like, that's where you're going wrong. She's annoyed because you keep putting your job first. She gets that your job is super important. She just wants to also be important, you know? And every time you try and justify the fact that, like, it's not that I don't love you, it's just that I put my job first. It's like, every time you say that, you're pissing her off more. But Caleb is so dumb sometimes. Like, he just doesn't, he has absolutely no ability to read people. He really doesn't. Like, that's not his forte at all. And trying to understand Cornelia's subtlety is not his thing. But yeah, I really want to know what the end of that sentence was. Like, does not mean, what was he going to say? What was he going to say? That I don't still care about you? That I don't still want to be with you? That I don't still love you? What were the words? What was he going to say? I want to know. Someone tell me. Someone ask Greg for me. He won't know. He won't tell me. That bit, the bit where, like, Elion says, you know, I could use my magic to burn her from your memories, and Caleb goes, no!
Not hungry.
My son seems to have lost his appetite without Cornelia.
It's got nothing to do with her. I wish I never met her.
Well, I suppose I could use my magic to burn her from your memory.
No!
Aha! You do care. And don't lie, I'm royalty.
Maybe a little.
When Caleb speak, that mean a lot.
She cares a lot too. Are you really gonna give her up without a fight?
And then, she's like, aha, you do care. Don't lie, I'm royalty. Yeah, what Caleb says is, I wish I'd never met her, and then Elion goes, well, I could use my magic to burn her from your memories, and he says no. Because he does care, and he does still love her, and he doesn't want to forget her. And even though she's caused him pain, and even though he's sad, he would still rather have loved and lost than never have loved at all. And they are so damn cute. And then Cornelia at the end, you know, she has to swallow her pride and admit that she was wrong. And of course, in that episode, Caleb, like, Cornelia straight up thinks, everyone straight up thinks Caleb's got fucking murdered. Like, that is dark and we don't talk about it enough. They legit think Caleb got murdered. And Julian. And then Cornelia just, like, has this epic breakdown on the steps of the palace. Don't sing it. Don't do it, Lauren. She was in a stew in the stop. She has this, like, epic breakdown on the steps of the palace, and Cornelia hardly ever cries. It's not something you see very often. She's, like, on the floor, sobbing uncontrollably because she's just lost the love of her life. And worse than that, when he died, well, when she thinks that he died, he was really mad at her. And it's like, this is the absolute worst. And this poor girl is, like, 14 years old, and this is, like, a huge amount to have to process in one go. I love it. I love that episode. It makes me so happy. The only reason it's so far down on the list is because at the end of the day, it is an episode for the Cornelia and Caleb shippers. It shouldn't, if I put that as number 1, that would be so, like, disingenuous. That would be such a bad thing to say, where I'm like, all these other episodes that are actually good and have plot in them aren't as good as this one episode about this couple that I happen to ship. It's like, no, that's not acceptable. So that's why it's down at 22, but rest assured that it lives rent-free in my brain and has done since I was 10 years old. Number 21 is Escape from Kavagar. There's, like, I really love season 1, as I've said. Season 1 is definitely my preferred season, and I think in a way it's like, as a whole, there's just I just, because I prefer it, it's like, I can't, off the top of my head, I can't tell you why Escape from Kavakor has taken spot 21 on my list. I just like it. I just like season 1. Escape from Kavakor is when they break into Kavagor prison, and I think Kavagor prison as a concept is, like, really cool. It's this prison that's so deep underground that the guards have to, like, stay down there for, like, a week, and then they have a guard change where they have to get, like, yeeted out of the ground. Like, they have to get, like, winched back out of the thing. So when you're in Kavagor, there's no way to escape, basically. It's so deep underground that even the guards can't leave if they want to. And I think that's great. I think that's such a cool concept. It's got these big ugly bug things called... This is when I always get confused, because I think they're scutters, aren't they? Because you've got the scuttlers. Scuttlers are the little robots that clean the ship in Red Dwarf. And then you've got skitters, which are the creepy spider robot things from Fallen Skies. And then you've got scutters, which are the weird cockroach things in Witch. And god, that is confusing. It's also a really good episode in terms of like getting to see Alborn and Myriadale, getting to see more of them, and seeing how Elion's like processing the idea that her parents were actually like Meridian beasts. But that she still loves them and she still cares about them. Even with Phobos's toxic influence, she still loves her parents, which I think is really nice. It's a really nice touch. You know, when she's like, I have to clean my room. For some reason, they were always nagging at me, I think was the word.
And I guess I better clean my room. For some reason, they were always bugging me about that on Earth.
I was about to say on at me. It's like, no, that's a British phrase. Yeah, I just think it's, I don't know, I just think it's an enjoyable episode. Is that the one where Blunt gets hypnotised and Caleb has to launch him through the portal? I think it is. Why does he get... Oh, yeah, because... Oh, that's right. That's right. They were... I completely forgot the plot. They were going to bring Alborn and Myriadale to the castle to see Elion, and as it turned out, they were putting, like, a hypno potion in their food so that when they brought them to the castle, they would tell Elion that they were living in this lovely, like, cabin in the woods.
Mr. and Mrs. Brown, we have to go right now.
Go? But my dear, it's so beautiful here. This is our home.
Phobos put something in their food.
Like, in a meadow, when in reality they were locked in jail. Which is just so dark. It's so sad. Like, imagine Elion, like, meeting her parents again. They're like, we live in this lovely cabin in the meadow. And she's like, that's wonderful. But in reality, her parents are actually being kept in a dungeon, in a prison that is, like, 1,000,000 feet underground by her evil brother who wants to turn her into a black rose. How incredibly depressing. Horrible. Horrible for her. Yeah, and then Blunt eats it, gets hypnotised, and then is standing there, like, meh, and then Caleb has to, like, launch him through the portal. I think it's one of those things where it's like, I just love Meridian world building so much, so, like, getting to see this, another part of Meridian, getting to see Kavakor, and getting to learn a bit more about the way that Meridian works under Phobos is just super interesting to me. And I think that's sort of where that comes from, really. Number 20. God, we're into the top 20. I'm really feeling proud of myself because this video, I had no idea how long it was going to take, but slowly but surely we are getting there. Number 20 is Demographs. Demographs is based on the comic book issue titled One Day You'll Meet Him, I think. In my head, my first thought was of the novelization, the HarperCollins novelization that's called The Light of Meridian, but the comic book I'm pretty sure is called One Day You'll Meet Him. It's the issue where Cornelia travels to Meridian to try and confront Elion, and that's when she meets Caleb for the first time. Obviously in the show, that's not an aspect, but she does go to Meridian to confront Elion, and I just think it's a really great episode for her, for Cornelia, for her character, for her to... For someone who was at first so apprehensive about going to Meridian, who was so scared of this new world, to go there with no powers, no backup, no way of defending herself, and just walk into Meridian and, you know, straight up lie to the guards to make her way into the castle, to get all the way to Elion's room just so she can try and convince her to come home, just because she loves Elion that much. She has such a strong bond with her that she pretty much literally walks through fire just to get to Elion and to try and convince her to come home. Like, she could have got killed. She quite easily could have got killed trying to pull that off. She might not even have made it to Elion's room without, you know, someone realising who she really was and attacking her, and without her powers, or at least without her, you know, full strength powers, she wouldn't have been able to defend herself and she would have got killed. And she does it because she just loves Elion that much, and I think that's just such an awesome moment for her character. It's like, hell yeah, what a queen. We stan a determined queen who doesn't give a shit about her own safety. Also, it's funny because she leaves behind the astral drop, who is just absolutely hopeless. And as much as Cornelia writes her like a million notes and tells her what to do, she's still not useful at all. And she's standing there in front of Caleb and she's like, and you are? Wait. Well, she flips through notes. It's like, girl, you're not... Considering Eleon, she's like, these are your friends. Don't let them see these cards. And then she just holds them up in front of everyone. It's like, can you not... can you not read instructions?
Okay, follow these instructions. It's like what I know and how to behave and stuff. And don't tell the girls anything. These are your friends. Don't let them see these cards. Also, don't act real weird.
It's also the episode where Caleb first discovers that Cornelia likes him, because those two are so incredibly dumb that even though everybody else and their dog can see that Cornelia and Caleb like each other, neither of them could actually figure it out because they're both dumb.
Cornelia, great! Do you know where I can get more trash can lids? They make great shields.
And you are? Wait.
Caleb, real cute boy that you like, but he doesn't know, so don't say anything. Really? Wait a second, you're not Cornelia. Where is she?
That being said, I've also kind of had that own situation with my boyfriend, where apparently everybody else knew that he liked me apart from me. Even though he asked me out on a date, and we went on a date, and I came home and was like, was it a date? I thought it was just like friendly lunch. But yeah, that's why I like that episode. I think it's really good for Cornelia. I think it's... the astral drop's really funny. I like the fact that Caleb finally finds out Cornelia likes him. I still wish... that's another time that's a scene I wish we'd seen, is Caleb telling Cornelia about how the astral drop, you know, blurted out the truth to him. Because I'm sure he would. Because you know what he's like. He loves to mess with Cornelia. So, like, he would definitely be like, so... real cute boy you like, but he doesn't know, so don't say anything. And she would be like, oh no. I would have loved to see that scene. And then I imagine he would have been like, yo, it's cool because I like you too. And then they would get together and it would be so beautiful, because the next episode's the underwater mines and they seem to already be together in that episode. The Mogers themselves are really creepy. Really unpleasant. Not a fan. Like, but I do love... like I said, I love world building, so give me all the creepy monsters. Give me them all. Number 19 is the Rebel Rescue. There's so much that I love about this episode. Like, it's got so much going on in it. You know, Caleb and Blanc, like I said earlier, I love when Caleb and Blanc are off on an adventure in Meridian, and this one they definitely are. They are off on an adventure. They're, you know, trying to get into some bit of the castle. I think they're, yeah, I don't really know what they're trying to break into. They're breaking into somewhere next to like this lake with like a swamp monster. And then Blanc gets captured, so Caleb like goes running back to the girls and is like, you have to come help me because I've lost Blanc. And it's like the episode where they officially, well, where Caleb like finally admits that he does like Blanc, that Blanc is his friend, because like he goes to the guards and he's like, what did you do with my friend? And then Blanc appears from like where he was hiding and he's like, Caleb called Blanc friend! Caleb like Blanc! It sounded more like Dobby the house elf there. I can't do Blanc's voice at all.
What happened to my friend?
Caleb called Blanc friend! Caleb like Blanc!
Like is such a strong word.
I thought he couldn't stand Blanc.
Must be a guy thing.
But I love that, because it's like, I love the fact that after all this time, because I'm such a big fan of their friendship, Caleb and Blanc's friendship, it's so nice to have this episode where they like finally cement that they are friends and that Caleb has grown to like Blanc. And you get to see it, you know? Like, the fact that he is so worried when he realises that Blanc's been captured, and he like immediately goes to the girls. Like I said earlier, you know, that Caleb has, earlier in the season, Caleb has a real issue with asking the girls for help because he does everything on his own. But here, Blanc's been captured and his first response is just to run to the girls and be like, you need to come help me. Like, the guards have got Blanc, you need to come help me. And everyone just goes to help him. And then later on in the episodes, like, Blanc just keeps like saying like, oh, you know, my friend Caleb, and Caleb's like, will you back off, you're being so weird, but he's like laughing and smiling, and it's like, yeah, they're finally friends. Also some nice Will and Matt scenes in there. That's the episode where they have their first kiss. Just some really nice scenes in there for them. It's just an episode I really like. I think there's just a lot of I think it is a lot of just Caleb and Blanc and Meridian is what makes me like that episode so much. It's definitely one of the ones that it's one of the ones that I watch a lot. Where like I'll just be sitting and I'm like, I'm just in the mood to watch this episode. The Rebel Rescue is one that I put on quite a lot because I just get a lot of joy out of it. And I think it is mostly because I just really enjoy the Caleb and Blanc dynamic, and all of that storyline just makes me happy. Number 18 on the list is very much kind of the same situation as the Rebel Rescue. It's the Battle of the Meridian Plains. I feel like this is an episode that gets forgotten. Like, I don't know, I feel like people forget it exists. I can't really explain why I think that. I just feel like it never gets mentioned ever by anyone. But I actually really like it, and I suppose it is because it is so Meridian heavy, and I am, you know, if I could live in Meridian, I would. And I know it's a hellscape, and it doesn't have electricity, and I probably would really, really miss Wi-Fi. But, like, I love Meridian. I want to live there forever. So getting to see, like, it's a proper epic battle in the Battle of Meridian Plains, and it's a great episode for me to use when I want to make a fan video, because there's just so many fight scenes in that episode. I think that is all it really is. It's just the reason that I like that episode so much is because it is so heavy on Meridian and the Rebellion, and I love the Rebellion. The Rebels are like, they're like my favourites. I love watching them. I love any scenes that involve the Rebels, and I think this is why season 1 is my preferred season, I think, because most people prefer season 2, and they're usually quite baffled when I say I prefer season 1, but it is genuinely just because I love Meridian, I love the Rebellion, I love the kind of medieval warfare nature of the whole thing. That is why season 1 is my favourite, because all those elements are in season 1 and they're not quite so prominent in season 2. So that's why. So episodes like the Battle of Meridian Plains are really good for me, because it's got all those things that I love so much. You know, it's really heavy on the Meridian and the Rebellion and the medieval battles, and for me that's just one of the aspects of this show that I really enjoy. So it's an episode that I really enjoy. I don't really have anything else to say about it other than I just think it's really good because it's got a lot going on in it that appeals to me personally. It's got a lot of Aldarn in it, and I love Aldarn. I think he's a great character. So just an episode that I really enjoy. So where Blanc has a cold and he goes home to stay with his mum, and it's like hilarious because it's like everyone's shocked at first that Blanc even has a mum, and then he goes out with his cold and tries to help, but he's like useless because he can't smell anything because he's got the cold. He also like steals one of Caleb's walkie-talkies, and Caleb's like, what is wrong with you? Yes, he's like, I've got 5 pairs, and they're like, no, you've got 4 pairs in this one. And he's like, who's got the other one? And they call it, and Blanc's like sitting at home with his cold, and they're like, Blanc.
Hello? Hello?
Blanc here. 10-4. Hello.
Blanc! Where are you?
Home with Mama.
He has a mother?
Oh, big sturdy root.
Aw, he's sick and his mama's taking care of him.
Why did you take the walkie-talkie?
Blanc could sell his back scratcher.
That definitely adds to it as well, because I love Blanc, and getting to see Blanc, where Blanc actually lives when he's not living in a dumpster outside the Silver Dragon, is really cool for me. There's also some nice scenes where like Will and Caleb are out together, and like I haven't mentioned this so far, but I love Will and Caleb's friendship. I love when they work together. So like there's bits in the labyrinth when they work together, there's bits in the final battle when they work together, and then there's bits in this one where they work together, and I just love those scenes when you get to see the two of them paired up, because I think they make a really good team. So I like the episodes where we get to see them together, because I think they've got a really good working relationship and a really good friendship. So yeah, just loads of stuff going on in that episode that I really like. Number 17 is The Ghosts of Elion, and I've always really liked this episode. I just like, I don't know, Ghosts of Elion is definitely one of the ones that I put on the most, because I think it just brings me joy. It's the one that I make fun of, though. I made fun of it on Tumblr a while ago, because there's this one scene where Caleb and Blanc see Elion and are trying to decide if she's real or not. So Caleb's ingenious plan to figure out whether or not Elion is real is to just launch a frisbee at her head. And I'm like, if that was the real Elion, you just hit your queen in the face with a frisbee. What is wrong with you? That's not going to endear her to the rebellion. She's going to be like, well, I don't want to help you now. You just frisbeed in the face. Like, what is wrong with you? But it's a really nice episode, because like Caleb and Blanc are out trying to find the real Elion. Yeah, there's also like the really good scenes on Earth where like Will like runs away from home and stays in Elion's house, and then the Lurdens break in to try and find the sketchbook, and then all the girls go to Meridian. They're like searching like an underground bunker to try and find the sketchbook, and then at the end when they all come home, like Cornelia's upset because she still didn't manage to get Elion to listen to her, and Caleb tries to be comforting because he's like, yeah, like they're like, we're all here for you, and he's like, yeah, me too, unless you want to talk about makeup or girly stuff. It's like, God, you are so hopeless, man, so hopeless. But I don't know, I just think it's a really fun episode, like, and it's like, it's sad but it's fun. There's the bit with the talking kangaroo toy, it's like, anyone know anything about a missing sketchbook? No, but you win the random question of the day award. I also just really enjoy when the girls are like out and about and Caleb and Blanc are out trying to find the real Elion. And like I said earlier, like they take so long to realise that the Elion clones are drawing them away from the castle. It's like, yeah, none of these Elions are real. You're also silly. The real Elion is in the castle. I don't know how you took so long to figure that out. Pretty sure Ghosts of Elion is also the episode where Caleb surfs on Cedric's tail on like a gold tea tray. Which is just hysterical to me. Is that the one? It is, isn't it? When he's like, for you, Cedric goes in and he's like, for your pleasure or something, a cup of tea and a rebel commando.
For your pleasure, Princess Elion, a cup of tea and a rebel commando.
And then Caleb steals the tea tray and uses it to surf Cedric's tail. And we love to see it. We love to see it. Number 16 on my list is, I would say, definitely one of the best quality episodes in the series, which is The Princess Revealed. As the title suggests, this is the episode where the girls all find out that Elion is actually Phobos' sister, and that's the girl that he's been looking for the entire season. It's a huge thing for the girls to have to process, especially Cornelia, because Cornelia has known Elion her entire life, and as far as she's concerned, Elion has always been on Earth. But of course, as we know, Elion actually only came to Earth when she was a few months old, so as much as it seems like she's always lived in Heatherfield, she hasn't. And Cornelia, it's really difficult for her to process that information, and it's nice to see like her reaction, because she does definitely take it really hard, and I like that. It gives her a real human quality to see, you know, how difficult she finds it to accept, and that goes on for episodes. It's not like that's something she just sort of like dithers over in that one episode and it's never brought up again. Like, she struggles with that for the rest of the season. She is always struggling with the fact that her best friend for her entire life is not from Earth. And eventually, of course, the fact that she decides to go and leave Earth to go and live with her evil brother. And that's a real struggle for Cornelia to try and reconcile in her mind.
I don't believe it! I've known Elion all my life. She is my best friend.
Phobos' sister, the heir to the Meridian throne, was brought to Earth over 12 years ago.
Elion was born right here in Heatherfield Memorial.
How does she know that?
I am not fighting her. I don't care who she is.
We have a job to do.
What, betraying our friends?
Other than that, though, the episode's got some really nice bits where, like, when they... the chaos of the girls stalking Eleon and her new boyfriend Brian at the theme park, and of course they think Brian's like evil or like Cedric in disguise, and he's not, because they don't realise. It's great because I love this writing. I love the way that they did this, is that the girls think that Brian is evil, so they are stalking him, and all they do is that they come across as so strange that Brian dumps Eleon because he says that like he likes her but he can't cope with her weird friends. So Eleon's really upset, and of course when she's upset she goes to Cedric, and they don't realise that the guy who runs the bookshop is the actual villain who's trying to lure Eleon away. So they just don't, you know, they don't realise that by trying to protect Eleon, every time they do something, they push her further and further into Cedric's web of lies. And I love that. I think that's such good writing. I also like this episode's got Vathic, and I love Vathic, so that's a big plus. I think it's just a really well written, really good episode. Like when you watch it, it feels weighty, it feels substantial. To me, it just feels like one of those episodes that really hits hard. It's one of those episodes where like it stands out to me. There's like certain episodes in the series that I think are really like, not just that they're pivotal, but like they just feel really significant, and like that's one of them. Parents' Night's definitely another, where it's like something big happens but it just feels like the episode's also just really well written, and that's one of them for me. At number 15 we have the second Zambala episode. I said in the last video that I really like the Zambala episodes, so Q is for Quarry is here. I really like Q is for Quarry. It's always been an episode that I particularly love. I mean, we're in the top 15 now, so these are all episodes that I love. Q is for Quarry has always been one of my favourites because I love Zambala. I like to see, obviously in this episode, the girls are working with Kadma. It's nice to see more of Kadma, more of her personality, the way that she kind of tries to teach Cornelia how to like talk to the trees. The whole subplot with Blunk trying to be a PI is so funny to me. Like, I know people don't like Blunk and that probably irritates you, but I love Blunk, and Blunk PI is just hysterical to me. I think that's so funny.
Blunk's client approach. Fierce yet fragile. Happy yet sad. Tall yet short.
Blunk, you do know you're narrating out loud, right?
Out loud yet. Only Blunk listen.
Any clues? Is she upstairs with Dad?
Serena here. Blunk lose her for a while, but Blunk knew she'd come back. Oh yes, like smell under Blunk's arms. They always come back.
Too much Wait a second. When did she disappear on you?
Blunk's little hand on 7.
The storyline as well with Will. I like the fact that, like, because at first you're kind of like, oh, Will's doing that thing again where she thinks that her parents' new partner is evil and out to get her. And it's like, we did this plot. We did this way back in a service to the community, but thankfully the girls acknowledge it, so it's not as if they've forgotten that they've done this plot before. So instead of it feeling like they're just rehashing a plot, it just seems as if it's just really in character for Will. They're like, well, you know, we've been here before. We dropped Professor Collins into all the neighbourhood pools because of you. Like, you can't keep doing this. And she's like, yeah, still think Serena's evil though. Serena sounds like Nerissa. And they're like, it doesn't, but okay. And I think it's just really in character for Will. And to be fair, I can't blame her at this point because like she's you know, been through it this season. Someone nicked her boyfriend and she still doesn't know where he is. It's no wonder she's a bit sus of this new person in her dad's life, especially when Nerissa's already like proved that she can glamour into literally anyone. So why wouldn't she be her dad's new girlfriend? I really don't blame her for being that cautious. But as the girls point out, they did do this before, and Professor Collins turned out to be a regular guy, and they can't just keep attacking anyone that her parents date thinking that they must be a monster. And of course, as it turns out, Serena, very much like Dean Collins, is not a monster, just a pretty lady. So I really like that storyline as well. I just enjoy the entire, like, everything that happens on Zambala. I think there's some really nice, like, moments in there, like figuring out that the knights must have hidden in a place where the trees can't see, so they're in a quarry. Nerissa, like, taunting Kadma and luring her into a trap so that she can take the heart of Zambala. Halinor using that utterly terrifying power where she can burn the oxygen around someone and cause them to pass out. If you don't get oxygen to your brain for, like, a significant length of time, you will suffer irreparable brain damage. And that gives me the fear, because I'm like, if you absorb all the like, I'm imagining that Cornelia didn't get brain damage from that incident, but you can give someone brain damage with that power. That's a terrifying power for someone to have, where they can just deprive you of oxygen. That's horrifying. I think we don't look enough at the fact that how horrifying that actually is. And then at the end, there's that bit where Will teletransports for the first time and thinks she's put the girls on the wall, but she hasn't. And I really like it. And then the very end scene where Will finally realizes that actually having new people in her parents' lives doesn't mean that it takes the love away from her. It just means that she has more people who love her and more people to give love to. So, you know, as she says, you know, 2 hearts, advantage me.
Hello, Will.
Hi. Look, I think maybe I was blindsided. Dad marrying a total stranger, but all that matters is you make each other happy, right?
Right.
And that means you're not the evil witch I thought you were. Literally.
Thanks, I think.
So, welcome to the family.
I think this is the start of something great. Serena has a lot to offer, Will. And an extra heart caring about you can't hurt either.
An extra heart. Advantage. Me.
And I think that's kind of what Will learns at the end of Fuse for Quarry, is that just because her dad has someone else in his life doesn't mean he loves Will any less. He just also loves someone else. And because his new partner, you know, because he has a daughter, his new partner loves her too. So now Will has someone else in her corner. And for someone who felt like for so long that she didn't really have anyone in her corner, now she has, you know, 2 parents and 2 step-parents who all love her and want the best for her. And it's like, yeah, she's not alone, actually. She's got a lot of people who care about her. And I think that's really nice. Number 14 on the list is one of the saddest episodes in the entire series. It's T is for Trauma. T is for Trauma I love because it really does get deep into Helen's psyche, and it's got some truly incredible scenes in there where, you know, Helen is so close to complete breakdown because her grandma has, as far as she can tell, turned evil, and now Nerissa's turned her boyfriend against her, and then she almost flambés her boyfriend alive, and Helen's like really about to crack because this is terrible. Like, her grandma's the person she loves most in the world, and she's gone. Her boyfriend is like the next person she loves most in the world, and he's turned on her and is about to get flambéed. She's really, really about to snap completely. And that's what Nerissa expects, but, like, you know, she thinks that if she takes away everything that means everything to Helen, that she will be able to, you know, destroy her from within, like she's been trying to do all season with all of her mind games. But what actually happens is she finds out that when you push Helen to her limit, she doesn't actually break down, she gets stronger. And she has that great line that I love where she goes like that. That's how you deal with the trauma, not by knowing that everything will be okay, but by having no other choice.
So that's it.
Yes, that's it. You lose, I win.
No, I mean that's how you survive the trauma. Not by knowing it'll be all right, but by having no other choice.
What are you talking
about? I don't have the luxury of breaking down right now. Not when innocent lives are at stake.
And I just love that line so much. And I know some people have criticised it and said it's not really a great lesson, but I get what it means. Is it's like, there are times in life when bad things happen and you don't know. Things aren't going to be okay. You know, if you lose someone, if someone dies, that's never going to be okay. You're never going to, you know, you're never going to be okay with the fact that the person's gone, or if you've been hurt, you're never going to be okay with that fact. But if you want to keep living life, then you have to find a way to deal with that trauma, and that's not easy, and that often requires, you know, therapy and stuff like that. And I'm not saying it's just the case that you just pick up and keep going and don't deal with the trauma, obviously, but what I'm saying is that there are times in life when there is no way to tell yourself that everything's going to be okay, because it's not. And at that point, you do have no other choice but to keep going and to find a way to proceed in life. And that's sort of what Elion's saying there, is it's like, she's at breaking point. Everything is a mess. The people she loves are gone. She's being tortured by this evil woman, and she's like, this isn't going to be okay, but I'm not going to let you win, because you don't get to hurt me like this. And she just stands up, and this is Elion, the most sensitive one in the group, the one who's the most emotional, standing up and saying, you don't get to hurt me today. I'm going to win. And she like stands up and fights back, and it's the best. It's just the best. I love it. It makes me so happy, especially if you are someone who has had struggles like emotionally, then you probably really resonate with Elion in that episode where she is just in a total downward spiral of depression, and she manages to find a way to fight back against her abuser. And you know, if you want to put it in that context, and it just makes me really happy to watch. On top of all that, there's also all this nonsense with the Egyptian themed mall. Still have no idea why there would be such a thing. I don't know if they think they live in Vegas or something. I've never heard of an Egyptian themed mall in my life, unless it is something in Vegas. The fact that they all have to put on cool costumes which look great, and Cornelia's dressed as like some kind of bird thing, and no, Cornelia's a camel and Matt's dressed as some kind of bird thing. It's just daft. It's a great, like, they went all out to animate that location, and I have no idea why. Like, I don't know who sat there and thought that would be, I don't know who was in the room that was like, see, for this episode we want to animate a whole Egyptian themed mall. There's absolutely no need to do it. It doesn't really add anything to the episode. It's just fun. The animators just wanted something to do, apparently. Maybe they were going to pitch a Egyptian themed show next, and they wanted to do some kind of like some prior development work on some Egyptian themed stuff. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's a great episode for Elion. It's such a powerful episode. It really does so much for her character. And then at the end, Eric does wake up, and he actually likes her braces. He doesn't think that they're ugly, and she's so happy, and I'm so happy for her. Oh, it's also the episode where Nerissa once again gets right into their heads, because in this episode she masks herself as a high school student, which is basically just her teenage self. And she shows up at school, puts basically like a love spell on all the boys, and all the boys fall in love with her, and it obviously really upsets the girls because like she's stealing their boyfriends. Not Matt, because he's immune after being shagged, and not Caleb because that is incest. But Nigel and Martin and Andrew Hornby and Eric all fall for Stacy, and again, it just, that way that Nerissa just really knows how to get into these girls' heads, and I think that's really awesome. And we get to see Chicken and like, well, evil Chicken in full fighting force, and that to me is just awesome because I love Chicken. So I think T is for Trauma is definitely one of the best episodes the series ever had, and I have real love for it. At number 13 we have S is for Self, which is a fantastic episode, and every time I watch it I just feel so, like, I don't know, vindicated as a fan, because I'm like, this is such a good episode, it's so well written, and I'm like, this is why W.I.T.C.H is such a great show. Like, this is one of those episodes that just proves the quality that W.I.T.C.H had. And it's the episode where Matt finally manages to like get Shagon out of his head and reclaim control of his body. And it's so good. Like, all of the scenes with Matt and Shagon fighting for control of his mind, Matt managing to break through Shagon and talk to Will, and Shagon trying to hold him back, and the fact, obviously, it's a battle of the bands as well, so on top of all that we get a bunch of random singing. So we've got The Demon in Me, which I don't care what anyone says, that's a bop. Like, it's a bop. It's a shame that it deliberately, like, Jason Morrison's deliberately singing it badly, because it's supposed to be that Shagon can't really sing, and then Matt has to, like, try and take control of the body to fix the fact that he sounds like shit. So he sounds sort of dodgy at the start, and then there's The Will to Love, which is beautiful. We all love The Will to Love. There's Uriah trying to sing Incy Wincy Spider, or Itsy Bitsy Spider as the Americans call it. In the UK it's always been Incy Wincy Spider. I don't really know what Incy Wincy means, but it's always been Incy Wincy Spider, but in America it's Itsy Bitsy Spider. But whatever. This is so funny. It's like, because he adds like an extra verse, it's like, that spider, he was really wet, something, he knew that climb was something he'd regret. And then there's Alchemy and the Grumpers singing God knows what. I don't have a damn clue what they're saying in that song. It's just a noise. So that's great, because it's like, well, there's a bunch of songs, so that's always fun. We love a musical episode. So I just think it's a brilliant, it's just an absolute masterly piece of work. There's Eric constantly saying that he just wants to play.
I just want to play.
Uriah running around trying to make a band and then declaring that they thought they could be a band because he plays air guitar and Kurt played the drums since he was 6. It's a great episode in terms of Matt and Shagon. Like, it really is. It's a great episode for Matt as a character, because like, Matt is one of my favourite characters and I really missed him. I really missed Matt from like when he disappears in L is for Loser all the way through to S is for Self, because he is one of my favourites, and it's really sad not having him there. So when he finally breaks through and comes back, it's, if you're watching the series like through, if you're watching it in order, it feels like such a long time since we last saw him, that when we finally do get the real Matt again, it's just such a great moment, and being like, finally, my boy is home.
If she can't stop me, do you really think your fists stand a chance? No. Wrong weapon. Right weapon. Winged angel from above, help me find the will to love.
That's Matt's voice. That's Matt's song. The one he wrote for me. It's you, Matt! You're inside Shagon, and I hear you!
At number 12 on my list, we have The Mud Slugs. The Mud Slugs is a season 1 episode where Cornelia falls out with the rest of the girls, and again, I think it's a really good episode in terms of like looking at the girls' friendship. Cornelia basically is just really mad that everyone agreed. In the previous few episodes, the girls had been debating whether or not to tell Elion the truth about who she really is. Cornelia said that she thinks that they should, Will said that she thinks that they shouldn't. Cornelia's argument was if they tell Eleon, they've got a better chance of being able to keep her safe from Phobos. Will's argument was if they tell Eleon, they might spook her and just make her run to Phobos. And in the end, the girls agreed with Will, sort of because she's the leader, so do what Will says. And at this point, Cornelia's angry because she thinks that, because what happened in Parents' Night is that Elion was furious that the girls hadn't told her the truth about who she was, that they hadn't told her about them being guardians, and as far as she was concerned, they'd just been lying to her for months. She doesn't know how long they've known about this, and all she can see is that they've not told her the truth. They knew who she really was, they knew about her having a brother and everything, and just didn't tell her. So she goes to Meridian because she's furious with the girls. And essentially, they've now realised that Cornelia's plan probably would have been the better one. They probably would have been better to just tell Elion the truth. And I still don't really know why they didn't listen to Cornelia, since she's known Elion her whole life and knows her better than anyone. But whatever. So Cornelia's really angry about this and decides she's just going to disown all of her friends and won't talk to them. And as Helen says, she you know, blocked me off her online friends list. That is serious. So I just think this is a really nice episode. It's quite sad, and it really gives us a better look into Cornelia as a person. And
very slow music here on Heatherfield's Sad
Cornelia
Song Station.
Ow! Look, Cornelia, about telling Elion, Will was wrong, okay? People can be wrong. Me and the other rebels disagree. We fight, but we always pull it together for the cause.
Well, I'm rebelling against our cause.
The people of Meridian need you.
They have my best friend. They don't need me.
Like the fact that when she's sad, she listens to really sad music on her headphones while she walks around town, or goes and just lies on a bed with Alchemy and just listens to depressing music. I also thought it was funny because she says, like, you know, listen to real depressing music. Somehow it uplifts you. And I'm like, yeah, when I was depressed, I used to only listen to depressing music, and somehow it made me feel better. If I listened to happy music, it would just piss me off more. Whereas if I listened to depressing music, it tended to make me feel calm. So I'd just be lying in bed, like, miserable, listening to Evanescence. And I still listen to Evanescence, but nowadays I don't do it because I'm sad. I do it just because I like Evanescence. Seen them in concert twice. They're great. And I like to see the way that the girls, like Will has to, like, kind of swallow her pride and try and get Cornelia to come back, and she makes this really heartfelt apology to Cornelia over the radio airwaves, and the group are all walking around town looking for her, and Caleb has that moment where he talks to her in the street and he tries to convince her to come back, and she wants none of it. And I just think it's a really nice episode, looking at the girls and their friendship, their relationship with each other, and just the bond that they have. And when Cornelia finally comes back at the end, and, you know, she's like, I couldn't let my girlies down, and then Will later asks her, she's like, when you said you couldn't let your girls down, did you mean even me? And Cornelia's like, yeah, even you. It's just, I don't know. I just really like it. It's an episode based around their friendship, and looking at the fact that the Guardians aren't strong when they're not together. You know, when there's only 4 of them, they're, like, not strong enough. They need all 5, and then when Cornelia comes back, she's the one who manages to save the day, because they need that bond. There needs to be 5 of them, and I love that. It does make me wonder what happened to the Guardians after Cassidy died. Maybe they just weren't as strong. Maybe not. Maybe not. And last one for this video, number 11 on my countdown, L is for Loser. L's for Loser is similar to G is for Garbage in the way that, as I mentioned before, it's about Irma just really upsetting one of her friends by being mean to them. Irma sets up a new radio station in the school, which makes me laugh because at the time, when I watched these episodes when I was a kid, that, like, the idea of working at a radio station was not even remotely in my mind, and then I got to my 20s and did exactly that, and I kept thinking about, like, Irma, and I'm like, oh my god, I've actually turned into Irma. Although, thankfully, not quite as much of a drill sergeant nasty, because I was much nicer when I worked at a radio station than she is. But they set up this radio station in the school. Funnily enough, the exact same people who worked at the school newspaper in the first season, which is funny. Minus Try. And Martin obviously wants to work there because he's Captain Radio Geek. But Irma obviously just gets really frustrated with Martin, because she always does, and she manages to hit the button to broadcast live to the school, and then calls Martin a loser, and the whole school hears it. Now,
Technical difficulties! Out! Get this into your head, Martin. I am not in love with you. I'm not even in like with you. I've tried to tell you a million times, but you won't take the hint. You are a pest. You are a toad. You're ugly, and your mother dresses you funny. You are the bane of my existence. Martin Tubbs, you are a loser. Oops.
What I really like about this is that even though Martin's a geek, like, nobody's, like, I feel like at my school, if you called someone who was a geek a loser in front of the whole school, everybody else would just be like, haha, loser, haha, join in. Whereas at Sheffield, everyone's furious at Irma for this. They all just think she was completely out of line, and she gets shunned by, like, the entire student body for being that horrible girl who called Martin a loser in front of everyone. And Martin's obviously devastated, because as much as he knows that he, you know, his crush on Irma is unrequited, he still is of the opinion that they are really good friends. Like, you know, they are buddies. And the fact that she would do something so horrible to him really breaks his heart. And one of the things I truly love in this episode is when Irma comes to apologise to him, and Martin says to her, it's like, you're only apologising to make you feel better, not to make me feel better.
Martin, I know you're in there. I demand you let me grovel.
How did you... Never mind. Just go away.
No, you are gonna hear I'm sorry whether you want to or not.
Proving you only care about yourself. You're apologizing so you'll feel better, not me.
And it's so true, because that I'm sure that was also a thing that was in Buffy, wasn't it? With like Willow when she cheats on Oz, and then she like tries to apologise to him, and Oz is like, yeah, but you apologising doesn't make it better. You might feel better, but it doesn't make me feel better. And it's so true, because it's like there is so often when you go to apologise to someone, it's like you're not actually doing it because you feel bad. You're doing it because you feel bad about what you did, but like you're doing it to try and absolve yourself of that guilt rather than trying to, you know, actually make the other person feel better, because you still did the horrible thing. And sometimes it's genuine, but sometimes it's not. And I think I get what Martin was saying there. So Irma's like super miserable and Martin's super miserable. And meanwhile, in the background, Matt has been turned into Shagon. Larissa glamoured herself as well to lure Matt out of his house and then dragged him away and turned him and Mr. Huggles into Shagon and Kor, which is just crazy. Just wild content right there. So now Will's really upset because Matt has completely disappeared off the face of the earth and she doesn't know where he's gone, and she's trying to get hold of him but she can't. So that's super upsetting for her. So she's got that going on in the background. Meanwhile, Shagon shows up and he's causing trouble, and the girls don't even know where this guy has come from, and now he's giving them all grief, and Irma's wandering the streets and miserable. But it's just, I think it's a great episode. I think it's a great study into Irma as a character. It's got a lot of Martin, and I love Martin. I think he's a great character. It's got the introduction of Shagon. I think it's great. I just think it's an absolutely stellar episode. And that's it for this video. So that's me done from, where did we go from? 30 to, no, what did we do? 25 to 11. I was like, what was I doing in this episode? 25 to 11. So the next episode will be me doing the top 10, my top 10 episodes, which of course, if you have been checking them off of a like checklist or something, you'll be able to tell what the top 10 are, but you won't know what order they're in until I tell you. And you get to find out what takes my coveted #1 spot. And honestly, the #1 I don't think will surprise many people, because I'm sure I've mentioned before what my favourite episode of Witch is. But my top, like, 3, the 2 and 3 spot will probably surprise people, because I don't think anybody would think that these would be in the top 3, but for me, they are. I think a lot of people will be very surprised at what my top 3 are. But yeah, so check back in the next episode to find out what they are. Once again, tell me in the comments below if you think my opinions are complete shit, and I will see you in the next one. Bye everyone. Didn't know I couldn't fly, didn't wanna be stuck on the ground. I wanted to soar across the sky, but something was holding me down. What had me cower in fear? What was it I couldn't see? The battle near but so unclear. I was fighting the demon in me, the demon in me, the demon in me. The battle weird over all that I feared. I was fighting the demon in me, the demon in me.